Hello everyone, and welcome! So today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to move beyond just memorizing vocabulary lists. Instead, we're going to become linguistic architects for a day. We're going to explore the very framework, the logic, that Mandarin Chinese uses to build the concept of time.
So let's start with this big question, and this is really going to frame our entire session. How does a language build a concept that's as universal as time? I mean, really think about that. We're not just learning words today. We're going to get our hands dirty, identify the foundational bricks, the support beams, and even the little decorative touches that Mandarin uses to put its system together.
All right. Any logical system needs a starting point, right? An anchor. And from that one stable point, everything else can be measured and defined. Well, when we're building time in Mandarin, that primary anchor, our absolute foundation, is the hour.
Okay, so here it is, our first and most important building block, the character, dian. First things first, let's nail the pronunciation. It's dian. You hear that? It's the third tone, so it has that very specific dip. It falls and then it rises. Dian. Go ahead and try it. Now, what's really fascinating here, and this is where you start to see the logic of the language, is what this character originally means. It means dot, or point, like a single dot on a page. And that's not random at all. When we say an hour, we're marking a single precise point on the clock face, a specific point in the day. It's just this beautiful connection between a visual idea and an abstract concept.
So let's put it to work. To say 9 o'clock, you take the number 9, zhou, and you add our anchor, dian. Together, zhou dian. Now this brings us to a super important pronunciation rule, something called tone sandhi. See, both zhou and dian are third tones. And a mistake I hear all the time from students is pronouncing two full dips back to back, zhou dian, which sounds really clunky and unnatural. The rule is this. When you have two third tones in a row, the first one changes. It becomes a rising second tone. So instead of dipping, the zhou actually rises up to meet the dian. Listen really carefully to the difference. Zhou dian. See? The first one goes up, the second one dips. Let's try it together. Zhou dian. Getting this little detail right is a huge step toward sounding fluent.
Okay, so we've established our anchor, the hour. But life rarely happens exactly on the hour, right? We need to be more precise. We need a way to divide that hour into smaller pieces. And that, of course, brings us to our next component, the minute.
The word for minute is fun zhong. And again, the language just gives us this perfectly logical construction. Let's break the word down. The first character, fun, means to divide or to separate something into parts. The second character, zhong, means clock. So when you say fun zhong, you are literally saying a division of the clock. It's not just a random word, it's a direct description of what a minute is. You're going to see this again and again in Mandarin, language built on a system of pure logic.
Now, building the full time is just wonderfully straightforward. It follows this big to small way of thinking that's really common in Mandarin. You start with the biggest unit, the hour, and then you just tack on the smaller unit, the minute. So for 10:20, you first say the hour, 10 dian. Then you just add the minutes, 20分钟. Put it all together and you get 10点20分钟. Notice how simple that is. In English, we have to deal with things like 20 past 10 or a quarter to 11. Mandarin just gets rid of all that. It's a direct statement, hour then minute. That's it.
Now, okay, moving from just knowing the rules to actually being fluent, well, that means you have to understand the shortcuts. It's about efficiency. While our formula is always correct, native speakers, just like in English, don't always use it. It's the difference between saying 30 minutes past 2 and just saying 2:30. So let's look at how this works in Mandarin. So here are our two main shortcuts. Ban, which means half, and ke, which means quarter. Now it's really important to understand how they're used differently. Ban is very specific. You can only use it for the 30-minute mark, for half hour. But ke is a bit more flexible. It actually comes from ancient Chinese water clocks, where a ke was a unit of time equal to a quarter of an hour. So today, it means a 15-minute block, which means we can use it for both 15 minutes past and 45 minutes past the hour.
Let's look at some real examples. For 4:15, we say 4点一刻. 4点一刻. Literally, 4 o'clock, 1 quarter. For 4:45, it's 4点三刻. 4点三刻. 4 o'clock, 3 quarters. Makes sense, right? But now look at 2:30. 2点半. 2点半. Okay, everybody, I want you to pause and really focus on this,
because this is a non-negotiable grammar rule. In Mandarin, you've got two words for two. There's R, and there's liang. R is what you use when you're just counting, 1, 2, 3. But you use liang when you're talking about a quantity of something. And in this case, the hour marker dian acts like a measure word. So you aren't counting two, you're specifying a quantity of 2 hours. So you must use liang. Saying R dian is one of the biggest beginner mistakes you can make. Getting this R versus liang distinction down is a major milestone.
Okay, so we've looked at all the individual parts, right? We have our anchor, the hour. We have our way of dividing it, the minute. And we have our handy shortcuts. The last step here is to put all of this together into one single, clean formula that's going to let you say anytime you want with total confidence.
And here it is, the master formula. Step 1, you state the hour, the biggest unit, using your number plus dian. And don't forget our special rule for 2 o'clock. It's always liang. Step 2, you just add the minutes right after, using the number plus fenzhong. And finally, step 3, this is optional, but it's the key to sounding natural. If it's a common time, you swap in your shortcuts, ban or ke. So, why is this so important? This is about more than just telling time. In a professional setting, say in a business meeting in Taipei, being punctual is highly valued. So, being able to schedule something for 10:01, a 10:15, shows a command of the language that signals you're competent and you pay attention to detail. On the flip side, if you're meeting a friend, using the casual 7:30 for 7:30 shows that you get the natural flow of daily conversation. So you see, this grammar is actually a tool for fitting into the culture, both professionally and socially.
You know, we started this session with the idea of taking a system apart, and now we put it back together into this really clear, logical formula. You now have all the foundational building blocks you need. So I'm going to leave you with a little challenge. I want you to look at a clock right now. What time is it? But don't just think it in English. I want you to actually say it out loud in Mandarin. Use the rules, the words, and the structures we've just gone over. That's how you start turning what you know in your head into a skill you can actually use. Thank you.